Our chair of the TCS did not make it today, so I'm here facilitating the meeting as your board secretary. I won't be taking any votes, but at least we'll facilitate the meeting. First off, I want to welcome Brian Ambrose and Andrew Gordon as our two new members of the Board of Governance. I don't know if you want to say anything to start, or you don't have to, but
I will. I'll just say I'm very happy. So happy to be working with you all and your representatives, the residents of our community, our town residents.
Basically our
Brian Ambrose. I serve as the Director of Community Services at the City of Marietta. Been involved, have come to the Board of Governance meetings for a little while, so know the process and just very happy to be here.
Glad to have you both, so welcome. If we could do roll call.
Yes. We'll start with Jim Steiner.
Here.
You, good morning. Supervisor Karen Spiegel. Angie Gordon. Here. Thank you, good morning. Dr. Matthew Chang. Daryl Fry.
Present.
Brian Ambrose.
Here.
Bill Blankenship.
Here.
Leticia DeLaura. Dr. Charles Lee Johnson. Angelina Pope. Claire Jefferson Gripa.
Yes, here.
Good morning. Carol Albaugh. Rainbow Marler.
Here.
Thank you. Good morning. Danielle Johnson.
Here.
And Karen Robert.
Enthusiastically present.
Oh, nice.
How come I not doing it? We'll move on to item number 2.0, which is our consent items, and 2.1 is the approval of the minutes from the December 11th meeting. Any corrections, questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Very good. Any further discussion at all?
Did you guys get who was the mover and the seconder?
You can have it.
Okay.
Just pick, they all said it, so. All right, if there's no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that's passed. We'll move on to item number 3.0, the public comments. Members of the public are encouraged to address the board on any item not listed on the agenda. We need to give about 3 minutes. Were any public comments submitted?
No.
No. Any public comments from the room of items not on the agenda? All right, not seeing any. We'll move on to item number 4.0, which is old business. 4.1 is the fiscal year 2025 HUD Continuum of Care Program, which changes daily. Tanya?
That part.
Good morning, board members and Continuum of Care members, friends that are joining us here in person and online. I think as has been our routine the last 3 meetings that we've met, wanted to provide an update on the fiscal year 2025 COC NOFO. And I'll just quickly take us through the timeline since November 13th, when HUD released a new NOFO that had approximately $3.9 million available at that time. And as part of our discussion, we shared that there were some significant changes that included caps on funding to permanent housing, as well as prioritization or emphasis on interventions like street outreach and transitional housing. And at that time, we were looking at a potential impact to 640 households and 887 individuals that are currently being assisted through permanent housing programs. To some degree, some of those projects, I think there were at least 5 to 6 that had expiration dates of in between the first quarter of this year. And many of those clients would only be receiving a 30-day to 60-day notice. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna pause here. I just noticed Amber, you're here.
Yeah.
Are you gonna be sitting in as a proxy for the supervisor?
No, she is on her way.
Okay.
She should be up here in a few minutes.
Okay, I apologize for the disruption, but I know sometimes, and I wanted to make sure you were where you needed to be. Since then, there were multiple lawsuits that were filed, one being by the National Alliance to End Homelessness. And on December 8th, HUD withdrew the NOFO with plans to revise it and reissue it. On December 19th, HUD did reissue a new NOFO, and a federal court preliminary injunction blocked HUD from moving forward with that plan as part of the litigation process. And as part of that injunction, HUD required or directed, the courts directed HUD to proceed with providing instructions to continuums of care on how to renew their existing programs. And we sent an email to the Board of Governance, all of you, as well as our subrecipients who are carrying out projects, and informed them that we went ahead and proceeded with requesting HUD to renew all of our projects. So on the next screen, you'll see a list that shows all the different projects that are funded. We have the background, and then our board members, as part of your handout on the PowerPoint slides, you'll also see a list of those projects. I just want to note that on the table that we included, you'll see that the totals for units and that is significantly lower than what I shared. There's 619 beds that contractually, or households contractually, that we are obligated to serve, but we're serving 640 because oftentimes many of our providers are able to find more affordable units and serve additional people. So that's, I just want to clarify that for your knowledge. So that is currently where we're at now. Yesterday, during our continuum of care meeting facilitated by our COC chair, Karen Roper, who is here, we provided an update on a motion to dismiss that had filed with the courts 2 days ago. And I'm gonna allow Greg, who is facilitating the meeting today, but is our government affairs with Housing and Workforce Solutions, to provide an update, as well as I wanna highlight Rachel Strassman, who is our UCR fellow and has been with us since the fall of this past year, and really inclusive with Greg, is the one who is keeping me abreast of everything that's happening. She came into my office and said, you need to read this motion to dismiss. There could be potential impacts. And so I'll let Greg and Rachel talk about exactly what that motion said, and then I can jump in and talk about the potential impacts if the courts were to move forward with what HUD is requesting.
So Rachel, you want me to give the overview, and if I miss anything, jump in or any more details. So yesterday, we found out that HUD actually is requesting the court to make a decision on the injunction by March 2nd, and have indicated that if the decision does not go their way, they will appeal the decision, anticipating that they would have that appeal handled by April, which seems fast for the court system. But and then if the court does rule in their favor within the HUD appropriations that were passed, and I'll talk about those later in the meeting, there was language in there that HUD has to stay with the 24-26 NOFO for the time being. However, if the court rules in favor of HUD, HUD can actually do a new NOFO by July 1st. And I don't think we really missed anything. If you want to add anything, Rachel, or
It would mainly affect projects that expire after the NOFO. I know there's a couple that Tanya has on the list.
and so I think so that's where we're at legally. I'm going to be an optimist and hopefully the court's not going to rule in HUD's favor, but we never know. So, but to Tanya's point is we do have some projects that would be affected.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if you want to highlight those.
Yes, so there are 3 projects that we identified that have periods of performance beyond July 1st. And we're going to be reaching out to those agencies. I imagine if they're not here, they're probably listening online. And so this is likely the first time that they're hearing this news. Again, I apologize. This is all fresh as of this morning. But those 3 projects that could be impacted belong to 1 to Jewish Family Services and 2 to Lighthouse Social Services. And the impact could be to 146 households who are currently receiving rental assistance and beginning July 1st have about 2 to 3 months of committed assistance beyond that date. So we'll be reaching out to the directors of the organization to coordinate, as we always have, a contingency plan in the event that that happens. As Greg said, we're staying optimistic. While we've seen HUD's requests, as he stated, we're waiting to see the National Alliance to End Homelessness response, as well as the court decision. So we'll keep you posted. And with that, that concludes the update for this item. I'm happy to answer any questions that I'm able to, and of course, circle back with the board as we obtain additional information. Thank you.
Open up for board comments or questions.
Yeah, a couple of things I wanted to comment on. First of all, really to just acknowledge the staff at HWS and also the providers before everything that happened with the court process and litigation in a very short amount of time. With the new requirements, as we had heard about them, there needed to be a quick analysis of how to change priorities, look at funding allocations, and there was a lot of work that went into that. And I think although a lot of us were really scared about, oh my gosh, all of these people that would lose their housing, there was a very thoughtful plan in place. And as I understand it, Tanya, even though the change was going to be hard, there were positive comments that came from the providers, which I know, Tanya, you can comment about that because some of these are very old grants. But I think some of the discussion that happened regarding those changes was positive for the future. The staff and the providers have been so flexible to pivot so quickly, and this is kind of a crazy time of uncertainty. So the only thing I wanted to mention is thank you to the providers who've been so flexible to try to continue to do their part through this time of uncertainty. And I think that if something shifts and we have to go to the new priorities that were listed in the current administration, that the world will not end, because I do believe that there were a lot of good opportunities. So this is a good plan, but I think also if we have to shift, because Tanya, I know you alluded to that you got a lot of positive feedback from the providers about those shifts, right? So I don't know if you want to comment on that, but it was, I think we got a good plan is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. Happy to share. I will say the feedback we received was fairly balanced, but definitely we're always writing down the feedback that we receive so that we can support contingency planning efforts. Some of the feedback or the appreciation or any words of appreciation around the new NOFO was around the opportunity to consolidate grants. If you look at the projects that are funded, you have agencies, some of the same agencies carrying out 2 to 3 different projects. So this NOFO provided an opportunity for consolidation. In practice, that really makes it consolidating 3 projects into one, makes it easier for the provider to administer the project. As an example, instead of submitting 3 different reports or having to run 3 different reports in IHMIS, everything would be done under one project. The other feedback was around the reemergence of transitional housing. And I think that's really because our region, our continuum of care, has always believed that we need all types of housing interventions at the table. And transitional housing, as the new NOFO described it, really provided an opportunity for integration with behavioral health and other recovery types of programs. And, we hear that feedback quite often from our shelter providers and our street outreach teams, who are the very first settings that interact with people that are on the street, that, mental health, substance use, are key barriers that they need extra support with. And so this NOFO really emphasized that as well. So definitely wanted to share that. Of course, the sort of cons, which we all knew, which you all felt the last time we met, was that it simply did not provide enough notice, right? We had 30 to 60 days to make decisions, which is why the board directed our team to work on a communications plan, because we knew that there was going to be fear. And then, of course, there were concerns about eligibility of assistance, because you have people who have chronic health conditions, long-term physical disabilities, that previously qualified for permanent supportive housing, our seniors as an example. And so it was dangerous, right? To just cut off assistance without a real transition or succession plan. But just wanted to share those. Karen, thank you for that question.
Tanya, could you go over the ones that are highlighted in yellow just briefly?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I know my team probably sent me a message to say, don't forget about that, because I forgot about that yesterday. So there are two projects that are highlighted. I know the font is very, very small, so I'll go ahead and just elaborate that there are two projects that we're actually going to be going out to identify a new subrecipient or vendor to help us operate that project. The first one being a domestic violence rapid rehousing project that currently Lighthouse Social Services is helping us support through the remainder of the performance period. But as is our normal process, that will be information released to our entire continuum of care, and of course working alongside our county purchasing department to ensure that we can get an additional vendor on to support 100 households and 120 estimated beds in that project. Yesterday, Rashana shared, Carol, that we anticipate that local bid application being released sometime between March and April. And the same for the second. We're looking for a vendor to operate a similar rental assistance program that would serve 32 households and 45 individuals. And both of those, are anticipated for the same date. NOFO to be released March or April.
Any other board comments or questions?
Quick, well, we discussed contingency plans for this current cycle of the NOFA. The elephant in the room is the administration's almost opposition to housing first.
Mm-hmm.
Have we considered that for future cycles?
Yes.
What that will mean?
Yes. So that was, Brian, you're right, one of the major changes in this year's NOFO, which was why transitional housing was sort of a central part of the conversation, is that as part of a shift from permanent supportive housing to transitional housing would mean that individuals' assistance would be capped anywhere from 12 to 24 months. And so that has and will continue to be a part of the discussion as we get more guidance from HUD.
Yeah, I think, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it deserves more discussion. I think Housing First got a bad rap across the nation, I think, because the idea was that, services, if you have people with severe drug addiction, mental health issues, all these going into permanent housing, that case management was not required. It was a choice of the client.
Right.
And I think, there's a lot of success models around that, but I think we can try to continue to provide focus on how that could be improved to find the sweet spot, because in some cases, people still do need ongoing services. So rather than throw the baby out with the bathwater, one of my favorite sayings, right, Jennifer? I would hope that, we could continue to talk about the value of Housing First in a way that you find the sweet spot, right? So sometimes I think services might be needed. So I don't know, just from a policy perspective, I hope we can have those discussions in the future.
Yeah, I just only thing I would add to that is providers, and I'm not a provider, I'm a city. But providers really need to think about their model,
Yeah,
because this could potentially be a monumental change.
yes, absolutely.
So,
Daryl, did you have?
Oh, no,
okay.
I agree.
Okay.
Hello.
Any other comments from the board? Any public comments at all? Yes.
Just a quick question or comment about the Housing First. We still get our HUD grants through the state
Right.
that still follow the Housing First policy. So we're gonna have to see how we can balance those by different grants. Because a lot of the providers that do get some of this grant funds may use some of our HUD dollars to pay for case management or other resources.
Yeah, and tying into that discussion, if the HUD stuff comes down, actually, the whole executive team has had that discussion. If that, federal decision does come down, is how do we, look at other funding sources to continue to do that? All right.
Can I say one thing?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I wonder if we as a body, but even more so as a collective of folks who really care about our unhoused neighbors can get ahead of the discussion around Housing First versus and create a new model and new language that allows us to take the learning that we learned under Housing First and the successes of darn near, 78 to 88%, which was astronomical in our industry. I think it's important for us, to Karen's point, not only not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but to learn how to reheat the water so that the baby stays healthy and clean.
Yeah, fact.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, fine, rainbow housing, purple housing, I don't care what we call it, but
Right.
our predecessors saw a success of 20% of folks being housed a year later after housing and said hallelujah.
Yeah.
And in our era, we have seen 78 to 80%. Let's not lose that momentum. And I think we need to take the reins of that narrative as a body and as individual agencies and individual cities and lead with the humanity and dignity that our neighbors deserve. So I would love for us to begin driving the message to our community of how we have safe cities, because we are only as safe as our neighbors' ability to have their basic needs met. And so everyone's priority is community safety. And so this is an issue about community safety, every single resident within our county's jurisdiction. And I would love us to begin that work.
Yes. And that analogy resonated with me. You guys know I have a 4-year-old at home, so that one works. And I agree, we can absolutely take that feedback and work with staff to put something together. Thank you.
Anything else? If not, we will move on to item 4.2, which is the fiscal year 2024.
Greg, we have a public comment.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, online, yeah.
Yes, on the.
One from Amy.
Amy, you'll just have to unmute and you can go.
Oh,
ahead.
hello, sorry. Yes,
No
hi,
worries.
thank you. My name's Amy Konopka. I manage two recovery residences, also known as sober living homes. And I'd just like to make a comment that there does seem to be a fear combining the housing first with recovery oriented shared housing. And I'm not sure if we're all familiar with HUD's intent that the COCs consider the express preferences of people being served. So if I can just say in a nutshell, I have women that have been served by Hope Housing, recovery oriented housing stipends, and they would rather, in some cases, uh, they would rather, one person express would rather go on the streets until they could afford to stay in shared housing than live in permanent supportive housing by themselves. They are not ready in a lot of times, even after just 6 months, to go isolate again. Even if their housing is paid for, it threw me for a loop that they could get free housing and live by themselves, and they would choose not to do that and would rather live in the safety and the community of shared housing. Now, recovery housing doesn't follow the housing first model, because if they use, they have to leave or they have to come back when they are sober. And I think it would really be great if the county could communicate more with, get more input from recovery housing vendors and find out what it is these clients need, because the county puts a lot of time and effort into these individuals. We, as housing providers, a lot of us put a lot of time and emotion, and we see them flourish, and to then have them just dropped out, no emergency housing, while a lot of them are dual diagnosis. They are unable to work because of their mental health issues. Um, I feel that the county would be served well to get with the coalitions and gather more information from us on and our success rates, and who we house and our relapse rates and everything like that. We have so much data, and I feel we need to be included more, not on an individual level, but more so at the coalition level, because we have a lot of information to provide. I am starting another arm, a nonprofit arm, specifically to house specific individuals. Whether I get grants or not, it doesn't matter. Combining the housing first policy with HUD's recovery housing policy brief. It was published in 2015 and gives a lot of information on their intent and how it relates to the COC and HUD, and that fine line with housing first. That may have changed with the current administration, but I had to throw that out there. Please consider including recovery housing, possibilities of putting us on the HMIS database if we are permitted, and just more information on how we can contribute by just housing people. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy. Appreciate that. And within the continuum, we have a very strong relationship with RUHS Behavioral Health, who actually stood up more beds during COVID than any other county, in fact, all counties combined. But I do agree, and so that's something maybe Tanya, we and staff look into.
Yep.
Maybe, and Amy, maybe if you could drop your email into the chat so that we could follow back up with you to see if you can get involved in some of the coalitions that RUHS Behavioral Health is already involved in. And then I'll just add too, is we had an extensive discussion yesterday at the COC on shared housing. So that is a relatively new initiative that we're going to be approaching through the department. And we'll definitely address some of the recovery issues within that.
And we'll talk a
I
little bit about.
attended that meeting. I just wanted to throw out there real quick. Yes, RUHS. I've seen other counties, and Riverside County is very blessed. I mean, we have the best county. I also work a little bit with San Diego County. They got it locked on for sure. And I attended that shared housing, and that shared housing conference was filled with a lot of sober living vendors and people who are trying to bridge that gap between housing first and shared housing with individuals who do want to continue their sobriety with structure, blurring the lines with uh, the scary part is blurring the lines with housing first and tenant landlord relations. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to doing that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Amy, very much. Appreciate that. Were there any other comments online or? Oh, great, thank you. All right, moving on to item 4.2, correct? Yes, the youth homeless demonstration project. That's Tanya's issue again.
Yeah. For this item, we are requesting action from the board to allocate about 50% of Moreno Valley College's rapid rehousing project. That's a rental assistance program that is targeting mainly students, or I should say not mainly, students who are attending the college and are between the ages 18 to 24 years old. I just wanted to provide an overview of the program because I know sometimes when we talk about reallocation, it can be perceived as a punitive recommendation or decision. And I want to assure you that in this case, it is not. The Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program is a program funded through HUD, the federal government, and our region received $7.4 million. And if we advance past the background, you'll see a table showing all the different agencies and their projects that this board and the COC's independent review panel worked together with to approve. All of these projects have now are on their first year of completion, and we're very fortunate that this is the first time, at least from what I've seen, where HUD actually did a 2-year award allocation. So all of these projects are set to expire on March 31st, 2027, again, a year from now. The projects range from permanent supportive housing, serving disabled young adults, as well as providing transitional housing. I think this was like the first time we saw the reemergence of transitional housing with YHDPs, which made sense because we know that young adults need flexible options, to pursue career opportunities, as well as educational opportunities. And we received lots of feedback from a youth action board, and I want to acknowledge Danielle, who is on this board of governance, because of the feedback that we received. In fact, her position was created as a result of the implementation of this program and the feedback that we received from the young adults who wanted to make sure they had a voice. Lots of good work has been happening, but as we always see with new programs, and it specifically I think the climate at the time was that I want the board and the continuum of care to know that I think we experienced a turnover of like 3 different head TA teams, head TA reps that were working with us and the subrecipients to administer these programs. Lots of changes, lots of different guidance and opinions and recommendations that our staff, but most importantly, our subrecipients had to work through. Additionally, there were also, there were also delays with us receiving the agreements from HUD and executing those contracts with the agencies that to some degree caused a delay in start. And so going back to my original message when I started the discussion on this item is at this time, in working with Moreno Valley College, they are requesting a reallocation of 50% of their award. And Angie Gordon, who is with the college, is here and now a board member. And so while she will not be voting on this item, she can speak to or answer any questions regarding the request. The recommendation, and you'll see that we have a revised motion, is for our team to come in and to support the college for this final year. The project itself will still remain intact, or I should say, will remain with Moreno Valley College. We really see this 50% allocation as an opportunity for us to bring on a dedicated person that can help the college process applications and provide rental assistance with still prioritizing students there. And we're hoping that that will allow us to get to a successful completion where we've spent 100% of the funding. We've served the number of young adults that we've set out in our agreement, so that it positions as well for a renewal when the time comes again. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions related to that motion. And there is a second part where I just wanted to give the board an update on some other projects and discussions that we're having with subrecipients.
First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to Moreno Valley College. We're excited about what's happening in the city of Moreno Valley with new programs and services. And I think for us as a board, we want to support organizations if they look at what their capacity is and isn't, and to try to be as successful as possible for a program launch. So this should be viewed as something positive, because you don't want providers to bite off more than they can chew. Also, not all counties are created equal. So again, thanks to HWS, because we've seen them do this before, where there was a provider that maybe had some challenges, and rather than us jeopardizing the funds, they stepped in, and that's what you're seeing here. So thank you to the Housing Authority for being willing to do that. So I'm wholeheartedly in support of the recommendation.
Any other questions or comments, Brian?
So first of all, to Angie, it's great that you look for the request to reduce, because a lot of agencies wait till the last minute and we end up leaving money on the table. In terms of the Housing Authority, do they have the capacity to take this on?
So the request is for our Office of Homeless Services. Brian, thank you for clearing that. We revised the motion. And I don't know if we can get to that page showing the revised motion just about a day or so, because Brian, in further conversations with the Housing Authority, they are themselves at capacity. They just took on a new grant as part of our county round 5 allocation. So in working with our Office of Homeless Services, which is the team that I directly manage, we've agreed that we will be bringing on 2 staff members to help support this project, and do have the ability to do that.
Just going to be real clear that we can expend the funding that is given to us. If not, we just need to consider that in the future.
Jim?
Yeah, maybe I missed it with fire trucks going by, but I knew of this. I'm trying to figure all this out. But what was the main reason that the Moreno Valley College requested for 50% reduction? Good question.
I can speak to that. So, so thank you so much for just the grace, right? We are new to the housing support space, but we had a high need. So when this opportunity became available, we worked with our administration to be able to participate and compete for this grant, and then ultimately receive the grant. Really kind of not knowing what we were getting into, with a very big part, because we have no housing program for our students, but have a 60% percentage of students that are experiencing homelessness. Our student population is over 15,000. I think at the time that we applied for the grant, we were at about 12,000. So this is an increased need, right, on our campus. And so we had a little bit of a slow start, like Tanya said, with the contracts going back and forth. But the reality is that we're not a nonprofit organization that specializes with housing. We are an institution of higher learning that has never stepped into this space before. So we had our own barriers, right, with having to look at the contracts, figure out staffing without knowing what staffing we would need, and all of those sorts of things, and kind of had a slow startup. But I'm happy to say, once we started, the momentum is there. We've acquired our first apartment, we got students placed, when we started moving forward with the rapid rehousing. So, but we wanted to be responsible partners. If there was a way for us to be able to reallocate the funding, execute the remaining funding well, but reallocate the funding that we knew when we started breaking it down month by month just really wasn't reasonable for us. Then we engaged in that conversation, and we have multiple options. We played with different numbers, 30% reduction, 50% reduction. I'll be honest, I was holding on to the 30%. That took some convincing. I'm like, no, we can do it. But we probably could, but it would have been painful. And I don't know that we would have executed it as well as our residents and our students deserve. So we decided to come up with a 50%. That's how we. Thank you.
Angie, I just wanted to acknowledge your college. Like you said, this is the first time. And in our conversations, I learned that you guys or the college had arranged agreements with landlords. I think you have several apartment units that you've secured master leases with. And you have those units reserved and likely today, I think, full from our last conversation with students. So I just wanted to share that. We know that finding landlords that are willing to rent to our participants is challenging when they don't have credit history or rental history. A key tool that many of our nonprofits, but not all are using, which I think it's worth sharing as a best practice, secure a master lease where the agency really takes on the liability as the leaseholder. And then they're able to directly, enroll and sublease units to students. I was really impressed by that. And again, I know our team is sharing that with all of our different nonprofit providers. Again, not to say it doesn't come with a risk, but I just think it's very, very telling of your commitment to the program and to the students.
The comment from the board? Any from the public? Any online? Just wish the state could sit in the room right now and see the accountability that's happening right now.
I have one question, Greg.
Yes, sir.
This is for Angie. Did you say 60% of your students are overalls?
Yeah, with our, which is above the national or the state average for California community college students. Our district, Riverside Community College District, is a 3-college district. So it's Moreno Valley, Riverside, and Norco. And then Moreno Valley is the high.
So when you have 12,000 students, my math is right, 6,000? Shocking.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you for sharing.
If there's no further discussion, this is an action item, so I entertain the motion to approve staff recommendations.
So moved.
Thank you. Second by Tim. Any further discussion? Yes. Do we need to do a roll call on this or? No. Okay, but Angie is abstaining, so. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion passes.
And Greg, I did want to give an update to the board on some of the other projects. Doesn't require any board item, but I just wanted to give this update so that the board is prepared. Should we have to come back in the future and request some additional support. So on the slides, and thank you staff for following me. We included a list of 5 other projects, and you'll see that the recipients are the agencies that are currently carrying out those projects. I'm just gonna quickly go through each one. Again, no action needed, but I just wanted to brief the board that we are continuing to work with Sigma Theta, who is administering a permanent supportive housing program in the city of Moreno Valley. We have an active RFP that has been released and will be coming back to the board with a further update on that. The second project is in regards to Silence Aloud. They have a navigation center in the city of Moreno Valley, and we've been working closely with the director there, Kenisha, to really allow that space to serve as a central spot where outreach teams and other providers, as well as youth themselves, can be supported and connected to the housing assistance programs funded through YHTP and other benefits that they may qualify for with transportation. Will help them, go to the DMV to get doc ready. And so one of the challenges I think that we were having initially was just in regards to the number of youth that are being served. Going back to, we have monthly technical assistance calls with all of our agencies. They have been really responsive to feedback, but also proactive, creating flyers, doing presentations in spaces to share the services that they have at the navigation center. So we've seen a pretty big increase in the number of foot traffic there to date. Mariel from our team shared with me that they've served 80 students or young adults. Hopefully many of them will be on that path. There are our students. And so we're excited about that, but sharing this here with the board, that we certainly appreciate any help that you guys can have with us to really market that, because as Angie just spoke, we know the need is great in that region. So the other agency that we are also supporting regularly is Walden Family Services, and they are administering a transitional housing program. Again, we set up this program very closely working with our HUD rep, HUD TA. Walden is a nonprofit organization, and we recently learned through a call with a different HUD rep that nonprofits cannot administer transitional housing programs or cannot pay for the rents directly. That's the challenge. So we're working with Walden. We quickly got on the phone with them and we're troubleshooting this issue. We have a solution. And I know, so Claire, you're looking at me, there's a federal reg that apparently was never changed when HUD transitioned from using transitional housing to rapid rehousing and permanent supportive housing, that really explicitly spells out that only government agencies can administer transitional housing programs. And so that needs to be changed, and there's advocacy happening as we speak to change that. But we had the same reaction you did. Yeah. Had the same reaction you did. And you can imagine the challenges that poses for like the current NOFO.
Everybody.
Yeah. So just know it's being challenged as we speak. But so to solve for that, one of the advantages we have being that we manage various funding sources and you being able to use HAP as a leverage is we're working with Walden to facilitate a what do you call it, a change to the project where we could, as the Office of Homeless Services, cover the rents, and then they would do the supportive services so that we could continue to keep this project intact. And we would be using, potentially county HAP dollars that we have, that the county receives, to cover the rents that we already paid. And then moving forward, it wouldn't be a problem. But so those are the types of discussions day to day that we are having to navigate. And I just wanted to let the board know in the event that we do need to come back to you for some action there. The last one is in regards to Path of Life Ministries, and Chris Oberg has shared with us that they are administering is it from supportive housing program? A joint transitional housing and rapid rehousing program. The challenge, I don't believe there's a challenge here because there is the rapid rehousing component, but the challenge with this project is just that there is a current financial gap. The grant only allows us to pay for approximately about $800 to $900 per each room that they have for rent. But when we've met with the nonprofit agency, it's actually costing them over $1,000 per room with the infusion of supportive services. And if you were to take a look at the setup of the units, they're absolutely beautiful. We actually featured Chris, as we're trying to do with all of our nonprofits, in a video that was hosted on our webpage. And they really have developed something that our youth are proud of, that we're very proud of. But unfortunately, the costs to support youth in regards to staffing, as well as just things like internet to operate the homes, is much more expensive. So again, we're looking to using our county HAP dollars to make up the difference for the remainder of the year. So just wanted to, again, share those. Thankful to those agencies who communicate the things that are going well, but also the challenges that they're having, because we are in this together, and we know that their success is our success. It's the success of all of the young adults that we're aiming to serve through this grant. So.
Just a quick question on the Walden again. Is that only payments made for properties with a nonprofit? Are they able to make the payments for properties that they don't own?
For Walden.
For Walden, it's the rental assistance line item that's the issue.
But can the question is, Amy, can they make rental assistance payments to private landlords, or is it all,
No,
it's
it has
all,
to come through
it's
us.
all rental assistance?
If it's $5.
Yes.
Yeah, it's stupid, but. Any other questions? Thank you, Tony, for the updates. Moving on to item 4.3, strategy for strengthening impact reporting. On your show today.
Items and then
Good time, good time.
Our manager normally helps me with these, and she actually spoke on this topic and another at the COC meeting. She is actually shared a personal item that she needed to support. So I apologize that you'll need to hear from me again. But this is a good topic, not requiring any action. But we know from our fall discussion with all of you that we wanted to come back and talk about our progress in meeting the 6 system performance metrics that we developed as part of our homeless action plan. We are, well, in the fall, we highlighted our 3rd year of results. And in your board packets, you should have this infographic that we love to showcase. And I'm going to draw your attention to the last page where it says 3 and 5 year homeless action plan. For our participants, great, we have done our best, but also have included as an attachment the same document that we are reviewing in-house today. So, during our fall meeting, we went over these and highlighted that of the 6 metrics, there are 4 that we are on track to meet, which include the first, we are continuing to have more exits into housing than inflows or new people that are experiencing homelessness. Secondly, we have reduced the length of stay for people that are experiencing homelessness by 27%. And then if you skip over 3 and jump to 4, you'll see that we've increased the number of crisis housing beds or shelter beds in the county by 29%. And then metric 5, we've also had success in increasing the supply of permanent housing units by 47%. There are two metrics, which we'll go over one by one, that we're not quite hitting. And so we wanted to start the discussion with our Board of Governance and plan to have a similar discussion with our continuum of care to brainstorm on ideas and strategies that we may want to uplift to have a greater dent in these. So if we advance to the next slide. Perfect. And this is in a separate handout, item 4.3. It's on the screen as well. And if you go to the third page on that handout, you'll see here that we put together some recommended strategies. And again, these are really just some initial thoughts we had. We're looking forward to the conversation with the board, the COC, to look at how we might be able to move from a 9% increase in first-time homelessness towards a 75% reduction, which is our goal, which is very ambitious, but right, that's part of setting a vision where we see this crisis completely ended. So some of the recommended strategies that we want to take is to look at, take a deeper dive into the data to see who is experiencing homelessness. What we do know is that seniors are at the top of that population group. Many seniors are on a fixed income, and we'll share a case that we received an inquiry or request for support for a 77-year-old senior whose husband was a veteran, and you know, he received veteran benefits that when he died 4 months ago now were completely gone. So they did not continue. Once he passed, those veteran benefits were discontinued, and she had to rely on her Social Security income to make the rents beginning in December of $2,500 a month. And so she just simply wasn't able to do it. And in her conversation with us, she shared how she was selling his personal items and was able to make it for the last 3 months. But ultimately, we connected her with our county adult services and county office of aging agencies who are working with her to provide some temporary rental assistance. But just showcasing that as an example of reality that many of the calls that our teams receive. Another recommended strategy that we're looking at is diversion as a first point of contact. You have heard Greg during these meetings talk about the county's RIFCO 1 effort and a platform that we are building so that residents of Riverside County would essentially build out a profile, answer questions, and using AI and other tools in a proactive way would be matched to services that they could be eligible for. So again, it really takes us from sort of a responsive or reactive measure requiring residents to come to us to tell us what they need to a place where they would actually complete a survey and assessment, and then proactively be connected to different county departments that they're eligible for. Similarly, and we are excited about launching a shared housing initiative. We know that there are many people like the senior that I just shared who may have income, but it's simply not enough to be able to afford rent. And we're very excited to share that our team, and I want to give credit to Amy Primrose, who is in the room, was able to successfully, and with Greg and so many people from our team, secured it's a I'm going to say it's a $1 million grant. There's a $1 million match component, so it will be a $2 million program. But essentially, $1 million are being awarded to us to launch a shared housing platform. What that will look like is we're anticipating having designated liaisons that will be working with people who need this assistance to help match people based on their preferences. Our hope is to do that on a large scale countywide. And the idea here is also to use a similar like AI platform where people would fill out a profile. And at a large scale level, we would be able to match people based on their preferences. So more to come on that. We met with the COC yesterday and had a very lively discussion on with them on this topic. We've discussed doing a landlord mitigation fund. We currently do have a fund that we've set up to serve people that are currently on assistance, and it's really in a form to help retain landlords, because we know sometimes right, there's damage to their units, tenants leave, there's damage, and so this is a way to help make them whole, protect those relationships. In this scenario, it would look a little different. It would become more available for anyone who is at risk and maybe need help retaining their current unit, and these funds could be used to sort of protect that relationship. So they wouldn't need to be a subsidized participant. We want to work and strengthen our partnership with workforce development, as well as Mike and Juan Garcia, who's over our development and housing arm, would advocate for continued production of affordable housing, because that's the biggest challenge, right? 70% of renters in Riverside County are continuing to pay more than 50% of their income towards rent. And so, of course, we are looking for other ideas and other suggestions. This is a conversation that we will continue. The second metric really focused on the next one.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what your thoughts on the board's thoughts were. If there was ever a time in our history to make sure that we're communicating the right messages, the strategies are good, but there are things, I think, sometimes outside of our control that are impacting the function of the system. So counterbalancing some of that with some of the challenges. I just know for us, for the longest time, I'll just use Corona as an example, our first-time homeless numbers were going down because we had a surplus of home funds we were using for prevention and rental assistance. The funds ran out, and we see a trend of like landlords that are selling their units, right? And then people have nowhere to go to find rents that they can afford. So I guess my point is, sometimes the system, it's not that the system's not functioning. There's factors contributing to the rise. So you know what I'm saying? So maybe mentioning some of the challenges that are getting in the way and counterbalancing that with the strategies that we want to use. Does that make sense, Tanya?
Yeah.
Because I think it's important, with messaging about these homeless programs that you're pouring good money after bad. No, there are challenges that are affecting, the progress that we're trying to make. Does that make sense to everybody? I don't know.
Definitely.
Right. This is actually a subject I've been looking at for over a year now. It's looking upstream. Two thoughts, Office of Aging, obviously in the county, we need to bring them in and get some of their thoughts in terms of seniors. Riverside County's CAP program, I'm not sure exactly, I think it's Community Action Partnership. So they help with utility bills. The first thing someone's going to stop paying for is their utilities. If we can connect with them, not to throw any more work on Michelle over there. You're the only city that I know of that has their own municipal utility program.
And there's
If you do pilot a program, that would be amazing.
They're a division under HWS.
Oh, are they? I didn't even know that. Okay.
Perez Singh is the deputy director over there.
Well,
Yeah.
right there, you got a connection. Like, yeah, I mean, that's, if we truly want to stop the inflow of first time, we need to go upstream. And we need to find those factors or those, at least those measurables that will show someone's about to enter in.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of the Community Action Partnership, is to address the poverty issue. There's limitations on funding.
I'm for sure there is, but I mean,
but you're right.
We have to do something outside the box, or it's going to continue.
Michelle.
We run a supplemental rental assistance program at the city to help seniors with their rental rental payments every month, up to 12 months. But a lot of times they can't afford the market rate rent and they're
Yeah.
waiting for an affordable housing when it doesn't open up. So we're actually building some units that are gonna have at risk. And so Tanya's team's been amazing on identifying with RUHS through CES, how we can identify the at-risk individuals, what forms and documentation has to be provided so that when those units get built, we can quickly pull and make those referrals, that these folks don't fall back into homelessness.
But do you actually look upstream and say, okay, this 65-year-old lady who's
Yes.
now single has not paid her utility bills in 2 months?
We're
That
starting-
should be a red
Right, we're
flag.
starting out right now because our
Awesome.
public utilities
Perfect.
just rolled out.
I knew I didn't have to do it. I knew you would.
And you know what's interesting, I'm glad that you did this pause, because Karen, you and I were talking about this indicator the other day, and one of the recommendations that you made to me was, Tanya, look at the data over different periods of time. And I'm glad that you said that. I had a conversation with Salam, who's our lead research specialist. And every year we submit a systems performance measures report to HUD. And we just, we're preparing for submittal of that report here in the next couple of days. So that report looks at a 24-month comparison. For this report, as you know, we're using like fiscal year, and we're comparing our each year to the first year when we started, year one. For HUD's report, they're looking at the last 24 months, and it's from October 1st to September. And that report is showing a 15% reduction in first-time homelessness. So I think I'm making note of that. I think that's really important. So while the data is showing, right, in the last 3 years that we've had an increase, if you just look at the last 2 years from that same period, it's showing a decline. So we're going to do a deeper dive in that, but I just thank you, Karen, for pointing that out, because you're right that sometimes looking at it from a different angle.
Especially since I forget the year we adopted the homeless action
2021.
plan.
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, so anyway.
During COVID, yeah. And the moratorium was lifted at that time, so yeah, a lot of people were impacted.
You share one thing, Greg?
Yes.
Oh yeah, glad. So a couple of years ago, my mom actually became a roommate. You know, she was in a shared housing kind of situation, I felt like. And she loved it, you know. She had roommates. I wanted to correlate the kind of the senior loneliness that happens that we all know about. And just seeing the fact that my mom, who was not really that social in her, you know, older adult era, she was really enjoying like having people to talk to. So I'm like, how can we also like incentivize people who have like extra rooms or extra room in their houses that they are probably, you know, lonely or need that social kind of environment, and incentivize them to open up their space in their homes to be a shared housing facility in a ways, you know? So I just wanted to share that as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Tanya, that may be something, you know, that as we develop the shared housing initiative is
Yeah.
utilizing that point to, and actually partnering again with RUHS Behavioral Health, who's actually has some initiatives on homelessness. So, great point. Anything further, Tanya? More?
So
Oh, yeah, sorry.
yeah, this is the last one. So we were looking at reductions from people being discharged from institutions. Again, institutions defined as those exiting jail, hospitals, and our foster care system. And we've seen a reduction of 17%, but again, we all committed to a 75% reduction. So same here, we want to take a deeper dive and look at the data to say like who is being impacted, which population groups, maybe overrepresented, what age groups, et cetera. In addition to emphasizing partnerships with public safety, children's services, and our healthcare system. I know that we have RCOE in the room, and we've been working very closely as part of our Youth Advisory Council and Youth Action Board with our Children's Services Agency to support youth exiting the foster care system. And our homeless point in time count did show that we're seeing less youth enter homelessness. I think, again, the challenge, it likely has to do with, I think more reach, we need more reach to our hospital and jail systems. I did want to share on a partnership we have with probation, where we now have outreach teams stationed at their day reporting centers. As well as other county departments, workforce is there, behavioral health is there to support people that are justice involved. I talked about the RIFCA 1 effort. We're also wanting to do more in-reach for advanced discharge planning. Last year, we prepared some targeted materials that are now shared in the jails so that people know how to contact Home Connect and get access to the continuum of care programs. Those are showcased now on a screen that the inmates have access to in common areas, and flyers are also shared by the different social workers that meet with them. Workforce, our county workforce has been very proactive. They have some justice involved grants that they've applied for and secured. So we're wanting to make sure that we're connecting the dots there. And then I wanted to give credit, I'm sure there are more, but at least the two that we're aware of, Lighthouse Social Services and Starting Over Inc., who have had dedicated grants to serve justice involved individuals, and are great. Like, they just jump in whenever we have someone with a complicated case, and help us not only coordinate housing, but with the legal pieces. And that concludes what I had prepared. Again, looking for ideas, suggestions, and again, we'll be taking this to the COC as well.
Tony, one addition would be the partnership we have with Veteran Services on the Prop 47 grant.
Yes.
For justice involved veterans.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, let me go to board members first and then we'll get to setback. Here.
The Prop 47, is that funding all been allocated, distributed? Are there other opportunities out there that you're aware of?
It's been fully out.
Okay.
And a question or comment?
I have comment. I just wanted to just make sure that when we're talking about youth homelessness, that we're really looking at the educational systems, because when we talk about McKinney-Vento, it's not in the conversations. And we look at it, I think there's a misdefinition, because we look at it as if it's just those kids that are doubled up, but families are living in their cars. People, there's some school districts that I know that are partnering with nonprofit organizations to house these individuals into like motels. And so I think us as a continuum, we need to really start looking to partner with the school districts, because I'm sorry, I don't know your name. As you stated, they're educational systems, and so they don't specialize in home services. And so these families are being missed. These children are being missed. When we're counting in our point in time counts, they're not being included. And there's no funding really allocated to those specific programs. I know the school district, yes, they're federally funded through different programs, but how are we capturing the McKinney-Vento, those education systems where these kids, these students are, they're being, the gaps, they're falling through the cracks. And so I think we need to really start looking and having these conversations and bringing some of the school districts to the table and having conversations about that. Because I know for me, I'm a small nonprofit who works with those organizations, with the school districts to provide support with McKinney-Vento specifically.
So can I speak on that? So I'm at Riverside County Office of Education, and my main responsibility is to support the McKinney-Vento liaison. Each school district should have a McKinney-Vento liaison dedicated. The challenge is they wear 10 other hats. And so my role is to meet with them quarterly as an entire county. I'm by charter school liaisons as well, not just the public education. And so they come to my meetings on a quarterly basis, and I give them a lot of foundational information on the rights of the youth. And then all the resources that I learned about through the continuum. I've invited Amy Primrose to come to my meeting. I've had Savannah Brown from Yak and Yaks come and present, Nikki DeLong. So I try to bring in all these resources to my meeting. So I would love to partner with you. And whatever I can do as County Office of Education to bring LEA's voices to this continuum, I'd be happy to. And anything you'd like me to take back, if you need data, I'm happy to offer that data as well in terms of your point. We track how many McKinney-Vento youth are enrolled. We are seeing a rise in doubled up. And in terms of my role also is to reduce the absenteeism. And that's kind of where I look for resources, because these kids are not coming to school, and if they're not coming to school, they're not getting the education, which then feeds the cycle of homelessness, right? So I was at Lake Elsinore Unified School District yesterday. We were talking about absenteeism. We worked with Paris L, who are currently experiencing a lot of absenteeism. We have Hem at USD, who's trying to make all the difference. The resources are transportation. Those are such big barriers in terms of funding. There is no funding. There is the education, EHC-wide grant right now, Education for Homeless Children and Youth, and it ends at end of next year. And so the funding is a big challenge for school districts. So absolutely whatever we can do to partner.
And we're limited on what we can fund as well to McKinney. So you're preaching to the choir, trustees.
I'm in the right room.
I think that's why the production of affordable housing is so important, because it's available to anybody.
100% agree with you, and love the comment about they wear 10 different hats. But I will tell you, with the McKinney-Vento counselors in Lake Elsinore and Marietta, they will run through a block wall to find housing for a homeless family.
Absolutely. They care deeply. It's just lots of there.
And just for a real quick history, and I'm sure most of you know this, McKinney-Vento is funded by tobacco, and no one's smoking anymore. So there's zero funds out there outside of vaping.
Yeah.
But the funding is gone. In the Regional Homeless Alliance cities, so the 5 cities, in the 5 cities in the Southwest, we actively encourage McKinney-Vento to come to our quarterly meetings. And in Marietta and Lake Elsinore, encourage them to really reach out to their local cities, because basically they provide us the list of kids that are strong. Anytime we have a family, we call the McKinney-Vento councils and say, they're going into our shelter. Just as an FYI, go talk to their teachers, go, figure out what we can do. And we partner together incredibly closely, but it's up to this local connection that we have to make.
Yeah, shout out to Corona Norco Unified School District,
Yes.
the Parent Center, they have a partnership with the
great
city of Corona
Yeah.
Norco. They refer the families to us for rental assistance all the time.
It makes all the difference.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing is that they're doing a lot, I've seen is that now there's this partnership where they're doing community schools now, where
Yes.
they're actually partnering, with community providers who are providing that support services to the school sites themselves. So there's, I know a few districts in San Bernardino County right now that have adopted the community school, initiative. And so they're now starting to partner with those providers on those school sites. They're not doing it, taking it on, as a whole district, but specific sites in those districts are taking on community school initiatives, so that they're partnering now with the community. They're bringing a full scope support onto those sites.
There's a lot of funds dedicated to community schools, which is serving the whole child. However, LEs have to apply for it and then receive it. And so not all of our school districts in the county have the community schools grant. But the ones that have community school grants, they're working towards serving the whole child, the whole family model. And in terms of the family resource centers, a lot of districts are putting their own funds to McKinney-Vento families by having a resource center, family resource center for foster youth, as well as the McKinney-Vento youth. But the funds are just, as we know, are reducing gradually. I'll just follow up on what Tanya spoke about earlier about hospitals. The discharge nurses, there's a high rate of turnover, so we're constantly having to go in with Path Life and educate the discharge nurse on the services and programs. We have recuperative care programs that do operate throughout the county, but I don't think they're plugged into the continuum care and the resources to help them get housed. So how do we get that network to the table and have that communication as well? And we'll love to get the data on RCOE for the different cities and the doubling up for affordable housing needs, but then we can share that information out with the city. So when we're building housing, we know what those needs are. Because a lot of times we're relying on, tax credit. What's the most points? We're gonna build what the most points is, but we'd love to change that narrative to what is the need in our community. And here's the stats and
Absolutely.
what that means.
To Michelle's point, what would it look like for us to do as we're presenting the point in time count numbers, also reporting than the Kenny-Vento numbers, right?
Yes.
I know we have different definitions.
Yes.
All of the challenges that come with that, I get it, right? We have to, we're all talking apples and oranges, but I think it might be productive to tell the whole story of homelessness. You know, Family Promise, we specifically serve families with children under the age of 18 who are experiencing homelessness. And so we see that challenge, but I think, you know, to the point I made earlier about making sure that we are helping our community understand who our neighbors are who need additional support. I think it might be a really strategic way for us to tell the whole story. As, you know, as I say, I get to serve the cutest homeless people in our community. But sometimes that, you know, cute, sweet baby allows us to make moves as a community that helps the entire system. And so I think it could be really interesting for us to begin uplifting all the numbers.
Agreed. Agreed. I'm glad that the County Office of Education is here. And I look forward to looking at ways that we can, you're right, when we talk about homelessness and we're sharing data, I'm making that note, like, to just throw in the Kenny-Vento data and say, look, but here's the impact to families, because everything that I've seen points to it being in the thousands, not in the hundreds. And especially going back to like first-time homelessness, right, where we're looking at prevention diversion, this is the group that's largely
impacted. As school districts and charters, we have such great access to our students and families that we can prevent homelessness. And we can work through that. Yes.
And then I heard you talk about like the community service grants and then
The community schools, yes.
or the community schools grants, and then the resource centers. You know, we're big, as you can tell, about collaboration, partnerships. I talked about earlier how we already have a resource space, Silence Allowed, in Moreno Valley for youth. Like, could these already existing structures that we're funding through the continuum of care support the spaces that you're looking to create? You know, like let's take advantage of existing infrastructure we have. To do that.
I like that a lot, particularly because there are a lot of schools that are working to kind of close that circle under the community schools models. It would be really interesting to, as a function of that, have county satellite hubs on the wash days, on, you know, the pantry days. I mean, schools literally are building laundry facilities for their families and students who are literally building like if you want to visit a really cool one down the street, the Moval USD Resource Center is gorgeous. Showers, laundry facilities, pantry, clothing pantry.
We're all trying to put this
right, but they don't but they don't have the county pieces. So when I'm doing laundry, how come I can't apply for EBT and CalWorks and workforce development? The space is there. They have meeting rooms already. They have counseling services there as well for the grown-ups while kids are in school. So the family literally can go in the beginning of the day, shower up, eat, kiddos go to school, and then mama goes to counseling. Already those things are happening within our school district. As other people have uplifted, our school districts care about their kiddos deeply and are really finding creative ways to make sure their babies get to show up as their best selves at school. And so if we can partner in that way, I think we can really make a difference on those numbers. In addition to, we know that an indicator of chronic homelessness is childhood homelessness. So we can really begin to slow the tide that we're experiencing on the larger scale, right? Like by starting with, you know, trauma-informed care for our itty bitties.
So a lot of our schools have housing navigators on campus that come visit once or twice a week. And so the liaisons will tell families, we have a housing navigator who can help you, you know,
think about that.
But not every district has that. So, you know, some of this is calibrating, what do we already have in which district? What are we missing in which district? And what resources are being used by certain districts, and how do we pull it all together? Great conversation. I'm glad I'm here in person because I join online, but in person is just a whole different ballgame. So thank you all for this.
Do you have your name?
Neha.
Okay, is there a contact?
Yes, I can give it to one of you guys, but I'll give you my, all right.
Were there any comments online?
There were conversations between some folks and partnerships happening in the chat, but I'm not sure if anyone.
Okay.
I've got a comment. I got a question.
Great discussion.
Right, we had one.
One
we had
question.
comment.
Oh, okay, good.
You can go ahead. I'm not sure who spoke though. The person that just spoke, we'd love to hear your comments. Would you like to introduce yourself and speak?
Yeah. My name is Dr. Benjamin Schuler, and I am the founder of the Hole in the Wall Homeless Drop-In Center in Moreno Valley, and this is my first time at this particular meeting. And I was trying to get there in person, but I ended up on the phone. So I wanted to at least introduce myself and tell everyone what we do. Some of us may know of us. We are a homeless drop-in center. We provide resources for the homeless in the community of Moreno Valley. We've been there for the last 10 to 13 years, providing those services. We are a walk-in version of 211. When they walk in, they're looking for food, of course, clothing, of course, bus passes, of course, and ID vouchers, and a place to get their mail. And we also have a housing program as well. We run a program where we house men coming out of prisoners, but we also have an available transitional house. So I just wanted to introduce myself and just to kind of jump in there. I'm not there in person or on Zoom, but I at least wanted to jump in there real quick before this meeting ended.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everything you're doing. All right, we will move on now to new business, 5.0. 5.1 is the emergency solutions grant for FY 2025.
Thank you. So the Emergency Solutions Grant is a grant program that we receive that comes to us from the state. These are federal dollars, get funneled to the state, and the state, in their generosity, allocates it to continuums of care. It is a smaller allocation from what you can see on the table. If we advance to, I think it's that slide, perfect. You'll see that our fiscal year 2024 award was for $383,000. And in the last week, we received news that the state is going to be amending our existing agreement, and we're happy about that. We know that they're taking this action versus starting a new agreement to help expedite the allocation of these funds so they can go quickly back out into the community and be used for their in-kind service. This year's award is estimated to be $354,000. And the eligible uses for these funds include rapid rehousing or rental assistance, emergency shelter, homelessness prevention, as well as HMIS and admin costs. Our recommendation to the board and the requested motion is for there's two different parts for the approval to transition this program from a 1-year to a 2-year award cycle. So that would, as part of the second motion, allow for us to extend, but also increase awards for the existing subrecipients, which include Mission Hope. They're administering a rapid rehousing program. Their award is roughly 40% of the allocation, currently at $153,000. And you'll see Operation Safe House as the second subrecipient. These funds are used to support their emergency shelter, about 7% of allocation, and it's $27,000. Martha's Village and Kitchen is the third nonprofit agency, also administering an emergency shelter program, and they get about $160,000. The other two buckets of funding are funds that we have set aside for our Office of Homeless Services. About 10% of that goes towards homelessness prevention, and this is a cap. The state said we cannot use more than 10% towards that effort, and then we get 1% for admin. This recommendation is being made given that one, we know that it improves service delivery when agencies do not have a break in their service agreements. We feel that the amounts that are awarded to these agencies are appropriate in nature, but also you should know that they're smaller than what our average awards are under HAP. As you know, with the state's HAP program, the COC gets about 5 million, and the average award for those contracts is about 300,000 to 500,000. So these awards here are much smaller, and we know from speaking with these agencies that having the ability to renew to a 2-year agreement would allow support things like staff retention, as well as their training program capacity and integrity. So again, oftentimes they have individuals they're assisting that may have come on mid-year that need continued assistance. So it would allow them to continue those services. And lastly, I think it's as important because from nonprofits, we often hear about the administrative challenges that are tied to these grants. And you've already seen that there's a cap on how much can be used for that purpose, but it will absolutely increase delays to contracts and make reporting significantly smoother. So that is the request. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Karen.
First of all, just, I don't know if you guys caught that 1%. It costs far more than that. And there are local government agencies that will say, no, we're not gonna do this because it doesn't provide enough funds. So I hope that doesn't feel missed by everybody. Thanks to Supervisor Spiegel and the board, who supports HWS and the different funding sources that you guys do to cobble things together to make this work. But I hope we don't miss that, because you can't do all of that work for 1%. It's impossible. And the other thing too is I think there's extreme value in continuity for 2 years for the providers and for the contract administration. So I think it's a smart move.
But we could use more than $60.
More general fund.
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
Other questions or comments?
You don't want my comment.
No, I know. Any comments online at all, or?
No.
No, and if there's not an objection, I think we can take both of the motions as one motion. So I would entertain a motion to approve staff recommendations.
I'd say.
Second by Karen, and Rainbow's abstaining. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Tanya. You're done now. All right, under item 5.2, this is informational only. It's time for us to elect chair and vice chair for the Board of Governance. Tanya, here it has the email's going out for voting. Do we send one out though for nominations first?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So in the following today's meeting, we'll have an email go out for nominations. Nominate yourself or nominate somebody else from the board. And then after that, we'll send out another email to vote for the chair, vice chair. Any questions on that?
Is there anything in the governance charter pertaining the secretary from being with us?
Probably, yeah, because I'm not a voting member.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I chair nothing with Karen. But thank you. All right, moving on to item.
Great,
five.
real quick.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hey, board members. I'll get Mabel. So I do want to put my hat in for vice chair. Just putting it out there. So you guys, if you feel so willing, I'm entering my 2nd year on this board, and I just wanted to put that comment out there. Thank you.
Very good. All right, moving on to item 5.3 is the federal and state budget updates. We can go to the next slide. And I'm not going to read through all of this. You have it all in your packet. It's good to be on with your time, but it's actually better news than what we thought it was going to be. If you looked at what the president was proposing, would have eliminated almost all funding within HUD. And then even in the House Appropriations Committee, the funding allocations were dismal with many items that would have been cut. Luckily, the Senate Appropriations was a bit better, and so then they settled on the final allocation of 77.3 billion, which is a $7.3 billion increase over last year. Again, two is 34.9 billion is right for renewing the 10-phase rental assistance. Again, I won't read through this, but again, it was a lot better than we expected. If we could go to the state slide, which I think is like 3. Wanted to highlight these stuff on the state. First of all, there's, many of you know, a $10 billion state bond proposal by Senator Cabaldon in the Senate. That's SB 417, and then Assembly Member Wicks of AB 736. Not a lot of difference between the two bills. The main one is the $100 million less allocation in the Senate bill for the Cerna farm worker housing program, which is an effective program for the eastern part of the county. And then even at the top, if you notice the multifamily housing program and infrastructure grant program, if you add those two line items together under Assemblymember Wick's bill, it basically almost, it actually exceeds the Senate bill. So again, not a lot of difference. This has passed the Senate and it's in the Assembly still for consideration. A couple other things I wanted to highlight is we know that on the HAP dollars, we've usually been getting $1 billion a year. That was cut to 500 million. There's a lot of advocacy in the state right now to up that to $1 billion. Heard yesterday that it sounds like one assembly member, and I'm not going to remember the name, is going to carry a bill to do that. And the wording on it's going to be a little weird because it's going to be the 500 million for HAP, but then like a $500 million emergency kind of reserve. Not, I don't want to use reserve, but $500 million to address the effects of HR 1, which was the Trump administration's cuts to certain programs. So we'll keep you updated on that. I want to give props, and she left the room, unfortunately, to our director, Heidi, who was in Sacramento yesterday in an assembly accountability committee and was invited there for testimony. We believe and have been told that we were invited because of the great work that we're doing in Riverside County. She did an amazing job on talking about the importance of HAP dollars, about the need for accountability, about other people on the panel talked about the challenges that HCD and the state are requiring on the accountability, just massive reporting, monthly reporting instead of quarterly. So many of the assembly members really took part in that. Our impression was the entire committee was very supportive of HAP. Again, we believe that the talk of accountability is because you hear a lot of mantra that the state's invested some $24 billion into homelessness and we're not seeing any results. Some jurisdictions are not spending their money as they should. That's not the case in Riverside County whatsoever. But really to combat that narrative too, is we have to remember too, is that a vast majority of that $24 billion, almost 75%, went into housing, which was, we know in this state takes 6 to 8 years to build. So again, it gets back to the narrative you're talking about, Claire. Again, lots of advocacy work for that. And again, it was really nice for Riverside County to be showcased. It was just our county and then Alameda County, and then a couple people from HCD and a couple other individuals. That was great. There's also a proposed bill, it's AB 1708, which is being promoted by California League of Cities, that would require basically HAP allocations to go to cities under 300,000. As you know, there's 13 big cities. Luckily, Riverside got to get in at the very bottom a couple years ago that get their own separate HAP allocations. The League of Cities and smaller cities, and primarily this is coming from LA cities, LA County cities, really want a direct allocation. We think there's going to be changes in the language in the bill because we don't know if that cuts county and COC allocations for HAP dollars. So we're extremely concerned as a county, obviously. It also kind of would affect some of the regional approaches that we do, that we've tried to build up and have worked very hard. And kudos to Brian and Karen for their particular work in that as well. So we'll continue to monitor that as well as it goes through the process. So And that's all I've got, unless there's questions, Karen.
I just wanted to make a comment about that, you know, from a city's perspective. To me, the way that it's currently written, it says direct allocation to cities under 300,000 to make a strategic decision based on general population and not homeless population where the need is a bad move.
It
And
is.
not all cities have the
Right.
capacity to do it. There's nothing preventing cities from applying to the continuum of care right now. And it's a regional approach with data, right? As a board, we allocate based on data. It's solid. We have the metrics to show for that. So I don't, my humble opinion, I don't think it's a good move. So.
I'll agree.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments?
I'll throw another quick comment out in the same vein as, we've actually discussed this bill. This bill unintentionally incentivizes the squeeze the balloon approach and silos. You know, there's no mandate for cities to collaborate. And so what happens is city will get the funding. They'll most likely do more enforcement heavy approaches and the contiguous cities are going to be impacted. There's no reason to do that. The fact of the matter is, in a time of collaboration, it's time for us to mandate that cities work together on homeless services and we look at it regionally, not city siloed.
So you'll be speaking up next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Please and thank you. Thank you.
We'll see.
We'll mention it.
It dilutes the pool of money as well.
100%.
So, you know, I use an example, it's like even if 50% of the city's under 300,000, that amount of money that they're gonna get,
Yeah.
they're not gonna be able to do anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, 6.0, I'm sorry.
We did have a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Julie Hirsch, she asked for a recap of the bill being discussed, which I'm assuming is AB 736.
With seventh what?
AB 736, the person that we discussed.
And
And Julie, if you had a specific question about that, you can speak up. Otherwise, you're just
Sorry.
requesting.
Thank you. Sorry, just the number was great. I didn't catch the number. Thank you, guys. Sorry.
okay, you got it, very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. All right, item 6.0, director's report. Are you gonna say more?
A little bit more, but
Let's do this other time.
two things, and they are quick, I promise, but noteworthy. We had talked about doing tours and visiting the projects that are funded through our homeless continuum of care. And so I just wanted to give the board a heads up that our office is working on getting those scheduled. I want to think initially the idea came from Supervisor Spiegel, Claire, Brian, Karen. Roper has always advocated for these opportunities. And so I just wanted you guys to keep an eye out. We're going to be sending out correspondence and working with our nonprofit and even county departments that receive funding to get these together. But we're just so you know, we're thinking regional tours so that we get to see how all of the different projects in the region are working together, and hopefully they'll put some city partnerships as well, because as you know, we're very much working together in a collaborative way. So that's the first announcement. The second announcement is I wanted to recognize that just last week, Supervisor Spiegel hosted a homeless symposium in her district, which brought together the cities of Norco, Eastville, Lake Elsinore, and Canyon Lake, and other different nonprofit. Corona. Thank you, Supervisor.
River Valley and Corona, you forgot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be honest. There were two speakers.
As you can tell, I'm trying to rush this to but great event, great turnout. Amber, how many people would you say we had in?
That was a couple hundred.
A couple hundred? No.
The room was full.
It's like thousands.
Thousands of people. But
70?
Oh my
Yeah.
It was more than
That
that.
We need to put you back in school.
Yes.
That well, I was running everywhere like a cat, so.
There is so much love in this room, but it was a great space. And Dr. Lee Johnson, who is a member of this board, was the keynote speaker and had a very inspiring message to us, reminding us to always work towards sharpening our skills. And we also heard from the cities. And so we have a short video that Nathan from our team, our PIO put together.
That's where that picture came from.
I hope you're enjoying Supervisor Spiegel's Second District Homeless Symposium. My name is Karen Roper, and I have the privilege of serving as the chair of the Riverside County Continuum of Care. But I also, with a team of support, oversee housing and homeless programs in the cities of Corona and Norco. I'm just so excited to tell you that we developed a partnership between Corona and Norco. The two cities work together on a sub-regional basis to address homelessness. We also developed a number of partnerships with Riverside County. And I'd like to tell you how some of those partnerships and investments really help to maximize and leverage city resources to help us build this sub-regional approach and this A to Z system of services. In Corona Norco, we had the privilege of participating with the County of Riverside in an encampment resolution grant. Both cities received $2 million, $1 million each, to address homelessness in the Santa Ana riverbed. Those funds were transformational. We were able to expand outreach and engagement, emergency motel shelter, permanent housing, encampment cleanup, and those funds helped to transform the Santa Ana riverbed to get people out of the riverbed into shelter and housing, to reduce fire hazards, to preserve wildlife habitat. It was transformational. That's one example of an amazing partnership with the County of Riverside. Another is when the city of Corona set out to develop a 56-bed emergency shelter navigation center. The County of Riverside was quick to partner thanks to the leadership of Supervisor Spiegel and the Board of Supervisors. They invested $1 million of ARPA funds, $400,000 of HIP funds, and helped to leverage $3 million of city funds to develop that shelter navigation center. Another example of a great partnership with the County of Riverside is our Home Key project, which converted a hotel into 53 units of permanent supportive housing. That amazing project helped to create that A to Z system so that people living on our streets, being placed on Shelter Navigation Center emergency shelter program, could move on to permanent supportive housing if they had ongoing disabilities. We're currently in the process of building 115 units of multifamily affordable housing. 20 of those units will be reserved for homeless families. The county invested $4 million in that project and loan funds to leverage $40 million in tax credits.
Funding allocations from Supervisor Spiegel's office in Riverside County have done an incredible job of strengthening our outreach, helping us address areas that we otherwise might not have been able to tackle, as well as secure funding for some vehicles to access the Santa Ana River bottom. The county, through the Continuum of Care, Supervisor Spiegel's office, and our strategic partners in Path of Life Ministries have done a fantastic job collaborating with one another. Anytime there's collaboration or a chance to leverage funding, it goes a really long way in helping keep programs on board. We have had multiple funding sources for some of our crisis stabilization units that we had online. We would go with general fund, with ARPA funds, and so forth, just to keep those units online as long as possible. And we just really want to see what we can do to drive some force, drive some change, and assist our region. I'd like to thank Supervisor Spiegel, the County of Riverside, Path of Life Ministries, our local sheriff's department, all of their continued efforts.
Right now, we're at our anchor facility. It's our 16-unit bridge housing that's right here in downtown Lake Elsinore. This facility has really allowed us to do some great things here in the city with our homeless population. And then with our HHAP partnership with the County of Riverside has allowed an extra outreach team to be out in our city 7 days a week. And that's really made the difference, bridging the gaps on the weekends. That extra team is really making the difference on bringing our homeless residents into housing and getting them into the pipeline to permanent supportive housing. The partnership that we have with the County of Riverside and the HHAP funding has really been a game changer. This additional funding is allowing us to have more boots on the streets, and it's making a bigger impact. We're able to respond a lot faster with the partnership with the county and the state with our Encampment Resolution Fund grant. We actually have street outreach teams that are working in partnership with our school district. We're all working together to do much more. And CityNet is doing two things for the city of Lake Elsinore. They're doing our street outreach, and they're also doing our case management here at the anchor. And having that coordination between the two groups really works for us. We're seeing that connection of services between the different cities, and that's really making the difference. Down here in Southwest Riverside County, we're really lucky. We have the Regional Homeless Alliance, and so that's all the cities that neighbor us coming together. We meet regularly, we share notes, and now we're sharing services as well. So we're really, really appreciative of all the work the county is doing. We know as a city we can't do this alone. Not one city is equipped to serve the homeless population. The partnerships that we have with our other cities and the partnership we have with the county working together to get grant funds from the state and the federal government, that's really what's going to solve this.
These are just tiny examples of what the County of Riverside does to partner with its cities to help people to live, work, and thrive in our cities. Thank you so much.
That wraps up my, thank you.
All right, moving on to, thank you, Patty. On item 7.0 is announcements. Any announcements? Michelle?
The Behavioral Health Services Act is California, they're updating their framework for the planning, funding, and behavioral health services. So RUHS Behavioral Health is holding public hearings on their service plan, funding plan. Their first meeting was held last night on February 18th. We're going to have a second meeting on February 26th at Coachella Valley Rescue Mission, and then March 12th at El Swat and Hemet. I'll send Tanya the copy of the flyer. So if you're interested, the survey is online if you can't make certain meetings. I sent a copy of Behavioral Health Commission meetings schedule as well as their subcommittee. So if you're interested in hearing about sober living and affordable housing as it relates to behavioral health, they have a housing subcommittee. So I went to one and I didn't see anybody in this room. So I'd love to see continuum care members at those meetings. So I gave that to Tanya to your team if we can get that up to the COC. Perfect. Hopefully you can see that cross collaboration happen.
Thank you. Any other announcements?
Michelle, is there a meeting next week up in the city?
Yeah, there is. The City of Riverside is hosting our annual forum to end homelessness. So we are actually going to have, we're inviting all the city managers throughout the county. We have a county CEO's office. We actually also include Colton, who's our neighboring county, as well as San Bernardino County. So the city managers, their homeless leads, as well as law enforcement leads to talk about homelessness. We're going to have California League of Cities to talk about some proposed housing bills or homeless related bills. They're going to talk about the state budget. If anything comes off that's not on their list, we'll put that in the parking lot. We're also going to have behavioral health come and talk about Senate Bill 43, Greatly Disabled, what it is, kind of what they're saying, what the needs are in that program. They're going to talk about Care Court, and the DA's office is also going to come and share information about Home Court. And we did a needs assessment on outreach services, shelter, transitional housing, affordable housing, and permanent housing around the county. So I want to thank all the cities that did reach back out to April, who's on my team that was kind of going out. We also did a kind of a surprise. I had her pretend to be homeless and call each city to see what response she got. So I'm not going to point any fingers at any city, but I'm going to give an overall number of, these are the numbers of cities that you call, and they're saying call this other city when they're not even in collaboration. Because I understand if Norco calls and they tell you to go to Corona because they have that working relationship in that MOU, where we've got cities that are telling them to, oh, well, you're not here, so come drive over here and then we'll help you. And so it's trying to identify where the gaps and needs are and identify how we, with our HAP dollars in the counties and continued dollars, there are resources out there to tap in.
That's
Where
what
are
that
the
call
needs and
was.
where can we get?
Started.
They said, we didn't want to give their name, they just wanted a phone.
She's like, oh, I recognize my face. Their cities get so many calls, they're not to remember who they spoke to. So it was clever. We're gonna do a nice map. Once we're done with that, I'll send it out to Tanya to the COC. We do an update.
When is that?
It's next Wednesday. And then I'm also gonna have a subcommittee set up after that. So I'm hoping Moreno Valley will be on that subcommittee. So some of the cities that we don't have a lot of representation to be on that committee. Because every time we have forums, we come and we share the great work that we're doing, and we keep saying we need shelters and we need housing. And the county's done an amazing job on getting outreach services coming throughout the whole county. But then those outreach workers are like, where's the shelter beds? Where we still need these other continuing care programs. And so how can we collectively work together? We're in this together. And I think somebody brought it up earlier too. Cities can't do it on their own. So we need to start collaborating. What does that look like?
Was that forum open to?
No. So, but there is a conversation of having one with our nonprofit providers and service providers. I don't know if we want to do that by sub-region or throughout the county. We'll talk because we need to have that second layer of the folks that are actually doing the work and kind of hearing where your gaps are, because they might not be in line with what we're saying or hearing as well. Maybe I'll set the subcommittee for that.
Any other announcements?
I feel like I talk nonstop, so I apologize for this. I'm happy to report, after about 10 years of work, the 5 cities in the southwest multi-county area known as the Regional Homeless Alliance are moving towards drafting and signing an MOU for services along in partnership with the county. So Tanya's been very patient with us on this, and I think we have all 5 cities, which if you knew all 5 of our cities, you know the
Which ones
herding
are
the
they?
cats. Temecula, Murrieta, Lake Elsinore from your district, Menifee, and did I say Willamar?
No, Willamar.
Yeah. And
Myriad.
yeah, Myriad and Willamar. Myriad actually helped. Wildamar's homeless services, just as actually we stole the MOU that Corona and Norco has. A lot of great work going on down there.
Works.
The district.
That's a big deal, I know.
Been a labor of love. I got the scars to show it.
Yeah.
If there's no more announcements. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
We have one announcement, Cassandra Rhodes. There. Cassandra, do you want to come off mute? You want to hear the announcement that you wanted to share?
Okay, now I am.
Perfect.
Thanks, Tanya. Great job, Brian. I just have to say, I wrote it in the comments, but just wanted to say that before I give my announcement.
Thank you, Cassandra.
I'm Cassandra Rose with Renewing Hope Strategies. We just, well, not just, a few months ago received a donation. We have a brand new mobile mental health unit that has hit the streets with a mobile shower unit. We have been doing outreach with probation. So we have been out to Cathedral City. We've been out to Hemet. We're going to be in Moreno Valley next week. I know Paris the week after. So any organizations want to coordinate with us, want to host with us, we are willing to come out. So any mental health needs, psychiatry, medication management, or even shower needs, we're willing to come out and partner with you.
And Cassandra, can you tell us the name of your organization again and the contact information?
Renewing Hope Strategies. And Tanya, if you want, I can send you the flyer and you can send it out to everyone with my contact.
Done. Thank you so much, Cassandra.
Perfect.
Thank you, Cassandra. You know, Tanya, there's a lot of new, like, mobile clinic stuff. It might be good if we could get someone on staff to put together like a
Directory.
Like a list, and if better, if there's set times where they're at.
That would be great.
So, because I know we have our mobile
We do.
street medicine teams, but there's
Yeah.
this organization, the
RUHS.
CVRN, RUHS,
Mhm.
that Desert Healthcare District. Carol.
Faith in Action, will have their mobile unit ready to go within probably 2, 3 weeks, thanks to the county and through the street outreach. So it's gonna be a mobile office that, with supplies and wheelchair lift and all of that, that will go out.
Tour that.
Awesome. Come and tour and hopefully we'll have a van there.
It's just the mobile clinics are really being shown to be one of the best outreach tools there.
Can I also ask, can we also have staff do a list of mobile builders and repair folks? Right? Like if that's what we're putting in together, like who do we go to who already has the specs for a mobile shower? Or if person A's pump is out, right? And then also dump sites, where are folks dumping their gray and not so gray water? Right, like just that would be a great resource as other people are trying to level up. That might be great to know locally.
Would be more than happy to help there, because I've researched it all.
Thank you.
I'm believing to Bitson on that part, right?
We are actually in the process right now of doing a mobile laundry unit too with our mobile shower unit. So I've done a lot of research in this.
All right, if you have any agenda items for next meeting, just get those to staff. And with that, nothing further, we'll adjourn. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Applause. That's really good.